Hello, I'm Brentan Schellenbach, and I'm really happy to be exploring the world of intermediate backbends with you today. Hopefully, totally 100% pain-free, where you feel integrated the whole way through. So what makes these poses intermediate is that we're going to be asking a little bit more stability from the legs and pelvis. We're going to be offering the mid-back spine, the thoracic spine, more mobility, more movement. And we'll also be exploring the back bends with the shoulders in flexion. So I think that's kind of the biggest one. And so for that, we'll actually use a yoga strap or a belt from your closet. And other props that you might want are a blanket and a block if you like it for half moon, ardha chandrasana. So let's get started warming up. I also, PS, do recommend you to have some other type of warm up besides this. I just filmed the beginning back bends one, so I'm pretty warmed up, but you can do that class or you could just do some sun salutations. And now you pause the video and you do all this, and now you come back. And here we are in tabletop position, hands and knees. And let's just start prepping the spine for our back bends with a little spinal warm-up. Now try to offer this movement to the entirety of the spine in equal timing and equal movement, which means actually offering it from your rib cage first and letting your pelvis and your shoulders reverberate off of your rib cage movement. And then from here, we're going to put the arm bones in flexion. So we'll drop on down to the forearms. And so your shoulder joint is just in flexion anytime the arm goes alongside the ear. So if your dolphin pose tends to feel like splat to the floor and out to the sides, take your hands wide and anchor the elbow bones in so that there's none of that. But if you're okay to hold yourself at parallel, do that. And press yourself down through the forearms and hug the inner wrists toward each other and the inner elbows toward each other as well. And then tuck the toes, lift up and back. Tilt the sitting bones way up as if the pelvis were like a piggy bank and the spine were like all of the coins that you could just shake out of it. And just assess, like, is the shoulder girdle in a position to do this with some back bending here? Can you press the back ribs forward into the heart and feel it move the upper back spine into a back bend? Oh, that feels so nice. And then release down. If you have sensitive knees, you might want to grab your blanket. We'll meet forward in a low lunge on the right. Both sitting bones should be lining up with the center of each knee. So see if that's true. If you have a hard time getting to the floor, you can put your hands on blocks. We'll want to open up the thighs, so the front of the legs. So plant the left hand, twist open, shoulder blades on the back, lengthen out. And then from here, let's bend into the back knee. If you need to pull the pelvis back, grab hold of the foot. You can also use your strap for that. Pull the heel in, align that back second toe with its heel, the heel with the center knee with that hip bone from the back leg. So you draw straight forward into the lunge and spin out. And then release. Other side. So just opening up the front of the hips, crucial element in our back bends, as we've probably all felt, especially if you're here to attempt the ones that are a little bit more demanding. Twist. Back out of it if you want, and then draw yourself into the lunge. So into that twisted thigh stretch, grab hold of that heel, line up that second toe with its ankle, ankle with the center knee with that right hip bone, that squares you off. Now lengthen your back ribs out, wave your skull forward, and release. And downward facing dog. let's meet with the right foot forward between the hands and start conditioning the back leg of our body to be in the fullest, most participatory back bend it can be in. So ground down through the leg, squeeze in, wave the heart beyond the big toe, curl up. Get your back leg firmly in back bend. So if both of your legs were what your back leg is doing, it would be an upward facing dog pose of some type, right? If both of my legs were doing what my back leg was doing, it would be upward facing dog. So you know the back leg is in back bend relationship then with the spine. So draw in on the front of the pelvis, lift the back ribs, and now take the shoulder bind behind you. Squeeze the upper arms in. Knit your front ribs together on your rib cage, and then pull yourself back with the front of your pelvis going to the back wall of your spine. Sit down, take the back leg into back bend. So lift the back knee, take the front pelvis in, squeeze the upper arms in, pull yourself back, and then press yourself up. And then return. Hands down to the floor. Let's switch our sides. So just warming up. Squeeze the legs into the hips. And now you get to feel the lunge too and how strong you are there. Wave your heart forward. Roll up. So front of the pelvis draws in. Back of the ribs lift, sit down, take your time, lift through every side of your body. So that's the other thing, the more space you have in the vertebra, the better the back bend will feel. Like I said, it should feel like the whole unit is drawing into shape. So take your back bend on this side, see if you can feel that. The whole unit of your torso goes back, and then it presses up. Release. Taking the hands down, stretch that leg back, downward facing dog. Pedal out through the feet. Just give a little shake of your head, yes and no. And use this time really to exhale out through the mouth. Especially because your back bend breathing, I'm going to walk into a fold, but your back bend breathing should really feel like it's entering in a really robust kingdom. Like that's how much the whole torso should be working in your favor during back bends. So let's feel a little bit of that in this upright position. We're gonna add some standing balance into it too. And if you are someone who does half moon with a block, go ahead and just find your block, set it at your normal height. Someplace on your mat. Okay, let's start with dancer's pose when the shoulder is in extension. So when it's down in some of the version that we just took in our lunge. So grounding through the left foot, engage your tadasana here. So anytime you pull one of the feet up off the floor, get it so that the whole body understands what's about to happen before it actually happens. So that's to build tadasana, and then to use the whole left side of your body like it's already lifted this leg, and then lift this leg, and then hold yourself. And then without tilting your pelvis forward, so you don't want to move your pelvis and thigh as a unit, you want to move your thigh away from your pelvis, and then grab onto the inner arch. So sometimes it's even nice to put a little left hand on the front of the pelvis as you gently draw it in. Right frontal hip bone draws in, left draws in, left hugs in to the spine. Squeeze your left foot down, squeeze your right knee into the left knee, lift your back ribs. So now knit the sternum and the pubis together and then act as if you've been corseted here. So you're not going from the low back first. You're not going from the low back first. Instead, go from your mid back first. Start to lift through the mid back, arch back out of it, and then begin to press the right foot into the hand. Now hug all organs into the body. Here it is. You want your heart and your foot to be at the same height. Fold your pelvis down onto a table. It faces down to the floor, but hug your lower abdomen in.
Hug your front ribs into the sternum, your sternum back to the spine, your heart lifts, your left arm lifts, your whole chest turns forward, and your foot and your heart meet each other in height. Okay, turn it into bound half moon. Oh my goodness, turn it into bound half moon. So when you fall out of it, this is actually perfect because now I can show you what happens when you fall out of it. When you fall out of it, you don't just go right into like whatever you want to do. Get into a place where you feel what you are feeling at the good stuff. Okay, and the good stuff means strong, steady, standing leg as you fold. So I think I was just going a little bit too fast there. Just getting tired. Lift your right knee up, pull your right thigh bone so that if someone took a picture of you from the skull, they wouldn't see it. Take the shoulders up together on the back, arch your foot back towards your head, and release. Okay, if for some reason your bound half moon isn't feeling so good, we did no external hip openers, none. So you may need to back up, do a couple of warrior twos or horse poses. And so really I hope that these practices don't just give you like a good sequence to work with, but that they also help teach you about your own body's needs and how your own system best functions so that you can be in control of all of that. That felt great. So I'm going to switch my sides. Okay, we get into Tadasana. So let the whole right side of your body behave as if the left leg has already lifted from the floor, and then turn that into your experience, your real experience. Okay, now move your thigh bone down away from the front of your pelvis. Keep the front of your pelvis drawing in, so you're extending through the hip as you now start to take hold of the inside of the left foot. Okay, sometimes the pelvis folds forward just for you to get it, that's okay. It's pretty easily fixable at this point in the pose. This is actually the part of the pose that you would want to come back to if you ever lost this crucial engagement here of the hip and extension. And extension actually is an energy inwards towards the body, even though it's lengthening as much as it can. As in, like, your left knee is lengthening away from the left side of the pelvis. So start to feel that as you draw up. So the left side of your pelvis is drawing in towards the belly button part of you as your left knee draws up behind you. Take your front ribs in, your sternum in. Now lift your back ribs up, take your heart up, offer the right arm. Now keep lifting through the heart, through the left knee, and here we go. You gotta hold in at the core, soften into the right knee, and let's try it on this side. Let's grab for our bound half moon. Lengthen your left kneecap behind you so that it disappears if someone were to take a picture of you from the skull side. Arc back from there, lengthen your knee away from your left hip, shoulder blades on the back, and soften. Whoo, release. How did that go? Good, I hope. Good enough that we'll do it again. And this time, we'll start to play with the arm bones going more to flexion. Now, if what you just experienced here was kind of crazy for you, then do the same thing, or just watch where the next progression of this is going so that you can start to work yourself energetically up into that point. It's pretty fun. So if you're working in your arm flexion, we'll start to understand the tool of the strap. So grab your strap. It should have a loop in it for your foot. Okay, let's just go right into it, shall we? Loop up the right foot. Take the left foot right underneath your body. Here you go, back to Tadasana. Better set my handy prop on the correct side, otherwise I'll be rudely awakened. And even hope I don't hit this wall behind me either in this transition. Okay, strap yourself up. Lift the strap over your right shoulder, and you have your elbow hanging by your side, so you're like you're flinging something behind you. Squeeze your right knee in. At this point, you probably don't feel very connected to your pelvis, so use your standing leg for that to press down and squeeze in. And it's like you want the underwear crease on the left side of your front body to totally disappear. That's what it feels like. Okay, and then keep the two frontal hip bones going in. Remember that extension is frontal hip bone away from the knee. So getting this to draw upwards with my pose, my frontal hip bone, and then my knee to extend backwards. So let's try that. And you use the right hand on the strap. You use both hands on the strap, actually. You can just take them over your shoulder for now. So you're not even in your arm flexion. Now, turn your pelvis down to the floor. Hug it inward to the body. Lengthen out through the back ribs. Breathe. Now, you can start to turn the elbows upward to the sky, only if that feels good, and keep the bottom of your sternum towards the back wall of your body. Lengthen the arm bones back in space and see, can you walk? Activate the foot into the strap. Activate the knee up, but the sexy hip bone, oops, that's my old name for it. That's how deep into a backbend I am. Take your frontal hip bone on the right side into the front of your body. Walk your hands back. Now breathe into the space between your low back ribs and the back of your pelvis. Can you walk back again? Okay, loosen it a little bit. Keep it in the right hand. Take the left hand down to the block or to the floor. Keep your right arm lengthening. You might have to let go more of the strap. Whew. And your revolved half moon awaits. And release. Okay, hopefully that's fun. I did feel something a little bit wonky in this back knee during that transition. And you know, if you don't have your hand right on the foot, it can be easy to forget what your back foot is doing in the strap. So just try to keep an eye on that. It's hard. I mean, I just lost it, you know. So get your prop ready. Okay. And always also give yourself a moment to take it all in. It's probably been a while since you've done this much of one thing. So even just doing that can be kind of exhilarating. Let's start. The left frontal hip bone in as the knee goes back. Now you're probably not so connected with your pelvis at this point. Bend your right leg, press out of it, flatten the hip crease on that right bikini crease or underwear crease. Lift the back ribs, knit the sternum and the pubis together, but keep this area open for breathing. Now we'll do this differently on this side. Raise the left arm bone into flexion by swinging it out to the side and up, out to the side and up. Lengthen both sets of the rib cage out via the back ribs. Lift the right arm, grab. Once the right hand grabs, start the ascent of the foot into the strap and up to the sky. Let the pelvis fold forward to a table physically, but energetically hug the front pelvis bones in, hug the bottom of your sternum down, back ribs lengthen, and keep walking. Keep lifting through the back of the ribs so that you get a shoulder stretch. Okay, loosen a little bit, keep it in the left hand. Here we go. Soften into your revolved half moon. Now you may need to let go of the strap more. And you keep taking that left knee away from that left hip. And release. So, what a rush. Whew, what a rush. Let's get back into downward facing dog and feel that forward fold, even out the energy a little bit. When you're ready, let's lower down to the knees. And before we take our next back bend, because I think we might be a little tuckered out, let's do a prep stretch for it. So we'll explore our next back bend in pigeon pose. And so let's actually get our piriformis stretch seated on our booties. Now, piriformis stretch can be as much as this, like an external rotation of one leg over the other. And then to your ability, you would slide in. Then you want to watch this thing, like rolling onto your tailbone is going to have your low back roll behind you. But you want to be able to walk back up onto your sitting bones. So that will give a little energetic press of your low back to the front of your body. Take your shoulders together and down, bottom of the sternum in, lift the chest. Soften the head of the right thigh bone deep into the pelvic socket. And even if your left foot is farther away from you, like get to a point where everything else is working. You need more, you just walk yourself in, and you can walk yourself in two ways. You can walk your heart forward, always up as you come forward. And you can also walk the left foot in. Okay. Other side. And this one that's figure forward, get second toe, center ankle, and center knee aligned, as long as you know that that alignment is pretty neutral for your skeleton. And if you don't know what neutral for your skeleton is and for your joints is, start studying that, because not everybody's joints are built facing the same direction even. So why would you align your joints to be optimal to somebody else's skeleton when you have your own skeleton to pay attention to? Okay. So we should be good here. And because this back bend, they all incorporate so many different things. This one incorporates an outer hip stretch, but a soft one. It's not as intense as your half pigeon pose is. And so I'll give you a few different ways to work with it. You can start by simply, even from tabletop position, try to bring the right knee outside of the right hand and shoulder. Then drop your back hip down, but face both frontal hip bones forward. And just try to scoop your tailbone forward a little bit at this point and melt your booty down to the floor. You would want to fold your pelvis forward if we were coming down here for the fold, but unless you really want it. Now we want to be able to be buoyant here, so we want to be able to walk ourselves back, take this back hip into extension, left frontal hip bone drawing in, hands down, lift the back ribs, take the heart up and back. This is a back bend. If you're ready, you'll bend into the back leg. If you're ready for mermaid pose, you'll point the back foot, draw it in, and hook it as close into your elbow as you can. Turn the heart forward, take the ribs in, take the right arm overhead, stay or clasp. Now, if you're ready to try some of your arm flexion for this back bend, you grab the strap, and it's the same thing that we did. And every time you grab it with the same hand. So let's imagine it's this one. You would grab it with the same hand, take the elbow in, and then hook the elbow up. So it rotates to the side, forward, and up. But it's one movement, whoop, up. But it really is side, forward, up. When you're ready to flip your grip, are you with me? That's when you can almost reach, in fact you can with the strap, reach your hand back to the foot. So if you know that you have that, and you can kind of do it, bend into the back knee, and you want to flex the foot and turn it open to the side. Because here's the weird grip. You need to grab underneath the top of your foot, starting at the pinky toe, and then reach for the top of the foot, the big toe. When you have it, turn the heart forward. Keep the left ankle in line with the left knee and hip. Press down, get your buoyancy, lift your heart, take it forward, and then you can rotate left elbow. It's the same thing, it's out, forward, up. Okay, release. Whew, haven't done that one in a while. So hopefully you got some good places to work there. And if you're nowhere near any of it, it's just good to see what the trajectory is, because these movements, regardless if they are unfamiliar to you in this context, are very familiar to you in other contexts of the practice. Other poses that you can do use the same things. So let's start on the left side. So I know that was a lot of different versions to see all at once. Just pick which one you're working with and go from there. Left knee to the outside of the wrist, left ankle between right wrist and hip. I set my leg down, but not pull the hip back. Pull the right frontal hip bone so that they're like parallel in the same direction that your heart and shoulders is facing. Now, ground the tailbone just slightly, pull the front of the pelvis in. Can you walk yourself back and get buoyant? And lift through the back ribs. Lift everything out of this. And then this tells you, are you ready to go on? This is like a crazy back bend, seriously. And when you're ready to go on, you can always use a cushion underneath this back knee, PS. The first one is mermaid, so you'll take a side stretch to turn back for the foot. But once you have that, you'll nestle it into the crook of the elbow, turn the heart forward, pull the front body in, try to keep that right foot in line with the right knee and armpit, and then you would lift. For a clasp. Now, if you are working with your strap, you'll take the strap, you'll harness it around the right foot. As you bring it in, you're gonna go out, forward, up. The strap will be behind you. You turn everything forward, integrate it up into the heart, and you walk yourself back. Same as dancer pose. Grounding through the pelvis, you wanna feel that buoyancy, so the strength drawing from the floor inward. When you have that, and you're ready to flip your grip, here's it from the other side. So you'll bend into the right knee, turn the foot open towards the camera, or like away from my body. Grab underneath the foot, the top of the foot, from the pinky toe to the big toe. That's the part you need to grab. Now turn your heart forward and your foot back into its proper relationship with the shin. And as that happens, lift your heart up. You gotta lift up and back to get the shoulder clearance to lift your arm into that flexion. Yes? Take the front body in. Get your buoyancy in that back leg. Take the left hand into place. Release. Release, release. How'd you do? It's just fun. Downward facing dog.
Let's meet down on our backs.
Have any props available for you if you like them for Shavasana, because after one more back bend, that's where we're going. Ugh. Okay. So of course you always have my blessing for bridge pose. Full wheel can be kind of a demanding pose because you're using the force of the floor to press against to kind of crank the body up in space. So there's a bunch of reasons why you might not be prepared for it. One of which is like, hey, my arms don't go by my ears in a comfortable way. That'll throw off the whole pose. So if that's you, stick with your handy bridge pose, the pelvis lifting and the heart lifting. When you're ready for wheel, if you're ready for wheel, let me change that. Step your feet close in, turn the second toes forward, and press down with your feet so you feel the whole thigh muscle area warm. So everything is working. It's like you just turned on the engine. Now, it might even lift your pelvis, in fact. Take the hands back behind the head with the fingertips facing in. Not everybody can take the elbows all the way in by the ears, but everybody can work towards it, right? And as that happens, move the shoulder blades together on the back and integrate the arm bones deep towards the back wall of the body. Now, press your feet down and forward, lift your hips. I always skip the top of the head thing because I don't like to put weight there. So you can go all the way up or to the top of the head. Then once you're here, you press into the ball mount of the foot, lengthen out, drop the inner thigh to the floor, lift your outer thigh. Drop the hip bones into your body, take the weight into your heels, stretch your heart towards your fingernails, and then if you can walk in from there, walk in. Press down through the big toe ball mound, inner thigh mound grounds, outer thigh lifts, drop the hip bones into the body, take your heart towards your fingernails. Release. You can give a little laugh there. It always feels like a nice release, and just let the exhales go. If your wrists took anything in there, give them a nice roll out. You can also pause. Twists are really known for their neutralizing benefits after back bends. If we were in a full hour-and-a-half long class, we would even do some forward folds after that to kind of put the energy back into more or less the state we found it in. The back bends really work it up. And then it's almost like, you know, the climax of the story, you still want all of the loose ends to thread together. So you're welcome to roll to a seated position and take some seated forward folds. And then, of course, Shavasana. Start to deepen your breath and give a little bit more weight to the exhales, almost like you are a dog panting, but on his very last pant. Let the air be really warm and foggy as it leaves your mouth, and try to control none of it. So really let the exhale just finish and fade out on its own, and then even fade into a pause where you're not breathing in right away. You can start to move the fingers and the toes. Especially if you just let your body be really still, start waking up through your other joints. If you let your body be really still in between the exhale and the inhale, and just take a pause there, that's a really calming thing. Eventually step your feet in close to your body, roll over, and sit up. Thank you for exploring the wonderful world of backbends with me. And I hope you learned something. If you have questions, please leave them in our comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Namaste.